So
Chevra Torah.
Okay, so just briefly, I see Diane, Merle, Steve, David, Roy, Rebecca, Lynn, Howard, Doris. Okay, I see Marvin's iPad. Every once in a while, you don't. Yeah, you'll fix it. Her. Okay. Barbara, hi. Brad. Brad, what shirt are you wearing? What is that? What is the shirt?
Northwestern.
Ah,
We're a
Northwest.
we're a three-generation Northwestern family.
You're a three-generation Northwestern. Did they give you the shirt then for free? You know the answer is no. Okay. Okay, Cindy, hi. Hi, Cindy. Donna, Brenda, we said hello. Marina, David, Tamara, Zax. Oh, golly, this is great. Maya, Ray, Risa, Karen, Gail. Gail, okay, Gail Wool. Mara, but it says only Mara. Oh, also in Harv. And Aviva Levin. Everybody, that's our daughter. Why are you here? I mean, it's good to see you. Or you're muted, thank you. And don't stick your tongue out at your father. It's not polite.
I'm here because
Okay. There we go. Okay, super. We are set to go. We're going to begin quickly with calendar. You know that I took an oath in 1968 to a Holocaust survival, Herman Weil. And Herman said to this really young rabbi that he expected me never to forget Kristallnacht year after year as I continued in my rabbinate. And so today I am still fulfilling that. One of the things that I tried to do in doing a little bit of research on Kristallnacht for today, the number of Jews killed on Kristallnacht seems to be up for grabs always. It was never firmly determined. And this year, for the first time, I got an explanation why. The number of suicides following Kristallnacht reached into the hundreds. And somehow I think that those who were totaling up numbers didn't know what to do with that. Does that count as someone who was killed during Kristallnacht? And this year they made a decision, yes. So in any event, that's why that happened. One of the things also that's occurring is that some of the survivors have been interviewed following October 7th, and their responses have been maybe not surprising, but extremely painful. To summarize, we never thought we'd live to see kind of a world. And so that's a reality. Okay, November 14th is the March on Washington, and that's going to be a very big deal. I know that Wilshire has advertised a group going on November 14th. Rabbi Eshel is leading it. It's going to be huge. November 15th, our current events class, and you know we'll have no lack of items. I wish we would. We're going to need a lot of conversation November 15th. November 23rd is Thanksgiving, and I don't know about you, but I'm having Thanksgiving with Aviva. So that That's terrific, and thank you. I'll place my order later, but that's good.
Everyone's invited.
Everyone's invited with that yell. Okay, cool. Cindy, do you have anything coming up?
On Tuesday, the 14th, we have happy hour at PETA at 5 o'clock. It's Girls Night Out. It's at Barrington and Wilshire. And our last Friday of the month, Froman's Shabbat dinner is postponed because of Thanksgiving until December 1st. And if you want to come, always tell Susie, she's in charge of it.
Okay, super. Jim is not on. Anyone know about the movie coming up?
He did not have one yet.
Oh, okay, super. So let's get going. Let's get going. It's Shabbos, it's Torah study. One of the things that is, I guess, current, and yet I was feeling snarky as I prepared today's lesson. Thus, I will share my snarkiness with you. Sarah dies, right? Sarah dies. We are in Chaye Sarah, the life of Sarah. Sarah dies, and then Abraham has to go out and buy a burial plot. As a retired pulpit rabbi, I would be suggesting that people ought to do that before people die in the family. It would be very helpful if you would prearrange. I get no money from the funeral homes, but believe me, having dealt with families over the past 60 some years, you don't need the struggles that go on at that point. You're going to bury him next to her? You don't need that. You could be able to do that in advance. But Abraham goes to his neighbors and he wants to buy a burial plot. And you know where the burial plot is, right? Where is that cave? What's it called?
Machpelah.
The cave of Machpelah, which is in what ancient modern town today?
Hebron.
Hebron.
In Hebron, okay? And on verse 19 on chapter 23, page 155 in the Plow, Abraham buried his wife Sarah in the cave of field of Machpelah, Hebron, land of Canaan. And thus was confirmed Abraham's acquisition of the land. Now, here is my snarkiness. Who politically holds most of Hebron today?
Palestinians.
The Palestinian Authority, right? There is a section, and it's highly controversial, a section of Hebron which is retained by a Jewish community. Now, Hebron was purchased, became a Jewish piece of property in the time of Abraham. Last week, walking on the Venice Strand, I came across a large graffiti that said, "Free Palestine from the river to the sea." And obviously, I was really unhappy when I saw it. Then when I read today's Sedra, Hebron actually should be in Jewish hands. I think we ought to start a nationwide program called Free Hebron. And we ought to, right? I think we ought to do it. I think we have good grounds. If you see Free Palestine from the river to the sea, just put under it Free Hebron, because it actually, if anything belongs to the Jewish people, it is Hebron and the cave of Machpelah. Steve, you know I'm being snarky, so we're going to move past this quickly.
Yeah, I do, and I wasn't actually going to comment on your snarkiness because
Okay.
we know who already is taking that position. My question is whether Hebron is in one of the areas that is designated as potentially being in Israel as part of a land swap in a two-state solution.
No. I don't usually answer questions that quickly, but there you go. No, Hebron is not. Hebron is, if you will, permanently apart. Okay. In Midrash, it says, in reference to our Torah portion, Rabbi Yehuda ben Shimon said, this is one of the three places about which the nations of the world cannot tell Israel, saying, these are stolen lands. When I got to that Midrash again this week, how did people 1700 years ago have to worry about the Gentile world saying, you have stolen Palestine? La plus ça change, la plus la même chose. Nothing changes. So Rabbi Yehuda said, well, there are three places at least in Palestine that the nations can't say these are stolen lands. And I'll give you a chance. What are the three places? Well, first of all, the cave of Machpelah, right? That's clear, in Hebron, the cave of Machpelah. The second place is the Temple Mount, which, by the way, would be very controversial today. So the Temple Mount, which is not in Israeli jurisdiction for most parts, only to a certain part. And the third place is the tomb, the burial place of Joseph. The burial place of Joseph. The three have in common that in all such circumstances, they were purchased for good money from local inhabitants. So the cave of Hebron, the of Machpelah, the Temple Mount, and the burial place of Joseph. So if you're going to reduce Israel to a size of, well, okay, you guys own this, we will be reduced to three little pieces in the land, and that'll be it. Donna.
Well, I hate to say this, but I think that what they would argue on the other side is that Ishmael is also Abraham's son. And so therefore he's the one who inherits that land.
Okay, are there any other comments? If not, we're going to move.
I'm just saying.
Okay, I mean, the more you study, the more trouble you cause, Donna. Okay, yes. You're right. You're totally correct that it becomes a controversial question.
Well, except that Hagar isn't buried at Machpelah and Sarah is.
Okay, I mean, neither is Rachel. So, yeah, but I think we're going to reduce my snarkiness to nothing is without controversy when discussing who owns what in the land. And we're going to leave it there. We're going to go forward. Let's turn, but anyway, my campaign for free Hebron, I really think I'd like to see you launch, put it into your feeds and Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and stuff like that, and see if we can start a national revolution of Viva.
So, make sure I'm not muted. With respect for the conversation, doesn't that conversation necessitate going back to authorship of text? And
Aviva, this is the first time you've come here. Everyone in this group believes firmly that the Torah was given by God word for word. I just
Having-
lied.
having-
I just lied.
Having sat with you while you've studied with others who vehemently disagree with you,
Okay.
but I mean, you know, to choose a particular phrase or a particular sentence to be, okay, here we go. This right here, we're going to hold on to as fact because it's written in Torah, but the rest of it we can interpret. My understanding was that this particular land purchase, as we have interpreted throughout history, is not about ownership of the property, but about the importance of burial and the importance of thoughtful, processed burial with respect to place that you can return to. And what about those aspects of the land purchase when thinking about?
Okay, we're going to move forward from that point as I drop a pearl of wisdom. There is eisegesis, which is the, as you know, Aviva, which is the task of deriving material from that which is printed. You draw out excuse me, backwards. Exegesis. It's early in the morning. Exegesis, in which you draw out from the text, and the text, you know, is obviously open to challenge in a variety of ways. Then there is eisegesis. As a teacher of Bible, I love eisegesis because it gives me for Tamara, don't listen to this. It gives me the right to put into the text whatever I doggone want. And as far as I'm concerned, this particular text is eternally valid. And that's just me and eisegesis. And we're going to, before I get my head chopped off, going to page 161 in the Plout, starting with chapter 24 of Genesis, verse 59. Verse 59. This is going to be interesting. It's not stuff we usually focus on. Page 161, chapter 24, verse 59. Rebecca is about to become one of the matriarchs of the Jewish people. And this text, to me, fascinating. They, which references Rebecca's family, Laban, Bethuel, they then sent their sister Rebecca off with her nurse, with Abraham's slave, and with his men. You remember, Abraham sent Eved, they translate here as slave or servant, sent his servant to find a proper wife for Isaac. What's the circumstance? Why did Abraham then decide now in this text to send for a wife for Isaac? What had happened? What had happened? Go on.
Near death? Isn't he near death?
It's Rebecca. It is. This is your Chevra. I mean, you know, this is all about you. Sarah dies. Abraham is old. He wants to guarantee the continuity of the covenant, the promise, the future. He needs a proper wife. What he doesn't want for Isaac is a wife from the locals. Why? Why? Cindy?
Because a local girl, her family would want control.
Yes, Sukasa. Sukasa, you had your hand up.
Oh, because he wanted somebody that was a member of his people.
Well, he didn't really have at least family.
Yeah, okay.
He wanted a member of the extended family. Why was this important, Sukasa? Why did he want a member of his family? I mean, you know, what's going on?
Because he believed in one God.
So we're dealing with covenant. We're dealing with an arrangement. And the fear was that the local ladies might, because, you know, you want to come to our house for dinner, we're having a family celebration in honor of this idol or that idol. And Abraham wanted to remove Isaac from that environment, get a woman. What was that famous Broadway song? Stick to your own kind. He wanted someone to be of the family, not that they were monotheists. We know they weren't, right? Abraham broke, but at the very least, it was family. So here we go. They sent Rebecca off with her nurse. The rabbis loved it. Sent her off with a nurse? And it struck me that in a lot of families, the rabbi said, well, this was the woman who cared for Rebecca when she was a kid and sort of remained with her forever. It's kind of a nice thing. And so this wizened old nurse still travels with the kid she helped to raise. That's what the rabbi said. Okay. And with them, traveled with them, bestowing this blessing upon Rebecca. Look at verse 60. You're going to get a special gift if you can identify where this verse turns up in Jewish ritual. This is a postgraduate question. This is tough. You got to know your stuff. Sister, may you become thousands of myriads. May your descendants take possession of the gates of their foes. Period. Close quote. It is a sentence which occurs in Jewish ritual a lot. Where? Should I offer a Maserati as a okay, Tamara, okay.
Weddings.
Weddings. When in the wedding? Do you remember when in the wedding?
Yes, before the actual marriage, when the veil in the privacy, when the veil is lifted, when the groom unveils the wife before signing the ketubah.
Okay, so the bedekin, which is involved in the veiling. Why do Jews do a peek during the bedekin before the actual wedding? There is a reason. Okay, Donna, you can make up for your other comment here. Yes.
Well, because Jacob got fooled by being given Leah instead of Rachel, who he had contracted for, and so
Or
they
you walk down the aisle with a veiled woman, find out who's in there. Okay,
yeah, better check first.
Better check. It's kind of like kicking the tires. Yeah. So Jacob was fooled, and ever since then, Jewish men have been told, look under the veil before you actually get under the chuppah, just in case. Okay. And the bedekin, which is the placing of the veil, at that moment, this verse is recited. This verse is recited. Always. That's always. That's kind of fun. But what is it saying? Sister, which, by the way, as the beginning, I think I love it every time we use it. Calling the bride sister, people, family, sister. May you become thousands of myriads. May your descendants take possession of the gates of their foes. This is weird. As a wedding blessing, what is it saying about Jewish people? What's it saying? To me, it's a comment that Jews will struggle forever. And by the time this was written, it was early, well, early-ish in the process. It was already true. When I look at this, the gates of their foe, why? The father, the brother, bye-bye, Becky, bye-bye, good luck, happy wedding. You're marrying a rich guy, you got this gold bracelets and stuff. It's good for the family. Don't forget us. It's good. Bye-bye, Becky. And by the way, may you be the mother of tens of thousands of descendants. And may you always be able to defeat your enemies. It just strikes me. It's the same kind of a thing that struck me when I read the Midrash that said there are 3 places at least where Jews won't be challenged as to what they own in the Holy Land. There is an undercurrent here that we don't pay attention to. We go past it, but it's there. Comment before we move forward on this text.
Yeah.
Please, Steve Miller.
There's an annotation in my text, which I find troubling for many reasons, including the fact that Isaac is extremely old and Abraham wants him to have children very soon. And the commentary says, and her nurse. According to the most common rabbinic chronology, the nurse was sent along because Rebecca was but 3 years old at the time, so that she would have needed someone to care for her. Bringing back a 3-year-old, that just seems...
Okay, any other questions?
Can you make sense of that?
Well, I am not going to reference the Talmudic verse that says if you have intercourse with a child of that age, it doesn't count because you don't break the hymen or whatever, so it's okay. I have real. It's there. Forget it. I didn't say it. It's lies. I didn't say it, but it's there. Steve, it's wonderful. It's Midrash. They want to make the chronology work. None of the chronologies can work if you don't do Midrash. You have to do Midrash on the chronologies. So do you think a 3-year-old went down to the well and was drawing water to fill the needs of the camels and so forth that the servant of Abraham brought with him? Can you really picture the 3-year-old? No, okay.
That's why I find this troubling. It doesn't make sense with any of the rest of the story.
Yeah, I'm not into the Rebecca 3-year-old Midrash. I'm not there. But as to the actual ages, so very often ages in the Bible were given as proof of righteousness or blessing and not as a proof of this was the actual chronology. Steve, I can't do it. The chronologies in Torah are fanciful.
Yeah.
They're fanciful. And, if you want to say that Methuselah lived 900, I forget the exact total, 960 something or other, fine. Or we could say he lived to a ripe old age. You could say one or the other. Okay, please. I see David. Yes, please.
Robert Alter, I think, says somewhere there's no before or after in the Torah. So not only are the ages questionable, but the sequencing is questionable. When something doesn't quite make sense, it's because the redactor or whomever just put it in this order to make it land the way presumably he wanted it to land.
David, thank you. I'd like you to show a little bit of respect to those folks who had to go through the trouble of editing this material. They must have had a terribly difficult time because they were dealing with strands from all over the place and etc. Okay, having said that, yeah, but as much as I, by the way, seriously, profoundly respect Alter as a wonderful scholar, he didn't invent there is no chronology, en mukdam umuchar b'Torah. That came from like a few thousand years ago. Okay, but the quote is accurate. There is no chronology. Do you want to try to figure out, David, when the golden calf episode occurred? Read the text and figure it out. You won't be able to. Okay? It's just the chronology is very confusing. And thank God we're liberal Jews. We don't have to spend the rest of the hour proving that the chronology is exact. So we are freed from that. Rebecca.
Well, I think it was a typo. She could have been 13, but I think the point is that Rebecca was a young woman and the nurse came along because she was going to be without her mother. She was going to have sex probably for the first time, maybe menstruation, run a whole household. And I think that's why the nurse came.
That makes all the sense in the world. So why say it? I mean, yes. Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world. Thank you. I mean, yes, I totally agree with you. And the fact that sometimes families have older retainers or nurses or whatever who have been with the family for a long, long time, this does happen. This does happen. We're going to move forward if I can. We're going to move forward here. I love this stuff. So the gates of their foes. Rebecca is being told it's not going to be easy. Rebecca and her servant girls got up, mounted the camels, followed the man as the slave took Rebecca and went off. Now, I mean, this is like I should be awarding prizes. Today, I am asking you, give me the name of another matriarch who is described in the Torah as riding on camels. Whoa, Donna, that was fast. Okay. All right. Yes.
Rachel, doesn't she ride on a camel and hide stuff under her seat? the family gods, little idols.
Let's turn to page 206.
No?
Okay. The answer is yes. The answer is a strong yes. And what's disappointing is that you cut off my presentation. All right. On 206, Genesis 31:34. Genesis 31:34. Rachel had taken the household gods and put them on the camel's saddlebag and was sitting on them as Laban rummaged through everything in the tent and found nothing. This scene is so wonderful. Rachel is leaving and she packed. She packed her stuff. And while she was packing, her father was following around to make certain that she didn't take something that didn't belong to her. Okay? So, I mean, it's a typical warm, friendly family situation. And they became aware that some of the household gods weren't around anymore. They lost their gods. And so before she could ride off on the camel, like Rebecca rode off on a camel, they stopped her. It's like being stopped at customs at an international barrier. Are you carrying any false gods with you? And what's the reason given by the rabbis that they didn't check her saddle? Donna, you're on a roll today. Okay, what?
She apparently said, "Oh, I've got my period, so I can't get up."
That is true. That's what the rabbis came up with. That Rebecca pleaded menstruation, and Daddy stepped away from her, and off she went with the family idols. Okay, so there we go. So another matriarch. We now have two matriarchs riding on camels. Now, today is a questioning day, and Donna, I think this is going to be a challenge for you. But let me see if look at verse 62. So here's the scene. Here's the scene. Rebecca is coming from her home and riding on the camel. She comes across a field, and this is what she sees. Now, Isaac was coming from the approach to Be'er Lachi Roi, for he was living in the area of the Negev. Okay, folks. Where was this place mentioned earlier? This weirdly named Be'er Lachi Roi. Now, tomorrow, it's not fair between you and Donna. I mean, you know, look, I wanted to stump everybody. Donna, you get 5 seconds if you want to come up with the answer. No, you don't get that. Tamara, where? Oh, wait. Howard, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, I don't know whether this is really necessary to point out, but it seems like archaeology says that there were no camels for about 1,000 years until about 1,000 years later than the time of Abraham. So
I rule that irrelevant.
It makes the story a little more interesting.
I rule that irrelevant. Please, let's keep facts out of our Torah study. Tamara, please.
Steve had his hand. You want to answer?
I'm probably wrong, but somewhere in the back of my mind, I had this notion that God was looking for Abraham, and Abraham went there to hide.
No.
But as you say, thank you for playing. No.
Okay.
No, this is where the angel or God appears to Hagar when she was in the wilderness, and she named the place is named after her encounter with God, and it means the well of the one who sees me, and the one connected with it is Hagar, and it's, to my knowledge, the only place in the Torah where a place is named after a woman's experience.
I didn't catch that. I didn't know that. Okay. All right. So the technical term is Hagar had a theophany. She had an experience of encountering God, angel, when she was there with her son, and the possibility was that he would die,
No, that's actually earlier when she runs away from Sarah.
Runs away from Sarah.
Yeah. And the angel tells her to go back, and she's being seen by God. That text has become very important to Muslim women, especially African American and Christian African American women, not Muslim women, African American women, because of being slaves and being seen by God when you are oppressed.
That's really important for me. Thank you. I did not know that at all. So African American women quote this verse as a moment when a woman is recognized by God and has status.
A slave woman, a slave woman. And it's really the first appearance of God to a woman. The next time there'll be chapter 18. This is chapter 16 with Sarah. So it's a very powerful moment.
I'm glad I showed up today. No. Okay, I'm going to have to process that. I did not know that at all. Thank you. Thank you for that. So Hagar had her theophany there. What I wanted to add, and tomorrow then we can deal with this. This, therefore, is a place which has a connection with Ishmael. Isaac is in the place connected with Ishmael. Am I allowed to make that connection?
Well, since Ishmael had not been born yet.
I know, but it's
definitely with Hagar. It's definitely with Hagar. But yes, you can make that point too. Yes, definitely. It's for both traditions, definitely.
One of the things that the text strives for is trying to figure out whether Isaac and Ishmael ever reconciled. And I was looking at this as Isaac was comfortable in Hagar's place, the mother of Ishmael. And I like that. Donna?
I think Ishmael and Isaac bury Abraham together.
Yes.
You could say they have come to some point of
yes
at the end.
Yes. What I also liked when I looked at this text was that the things we just raised were not raised by the rabbis. None of what we just said, to my exploration, is found in the standard rabbinic commentaries. And absence is a very interesting thing. And it's absent. And we'll have to let it sit with that. It's absent. Verse 63. Isaac, going out toward evening to stroll in the field, Isaac looked up and saw camels coming. For those of you who said he couldn't have seen camels, we reject you. It says clearly that camels were there. So let's leave fact out. Now, the rabbis really turn on this verse. Really turn on it. It looks so simple. Vayetze Yitzchak lasuach basadeh. Lasuach. I see lasuach as derived from the same word for sicha, conversation. And so some will translate it as meditate. Isaac went out to meditate. The stroll, I can't help with in terms of Hebrew why stroll is an option. But a couple of things emerge from this. What was Isaac actually doing at that moment? He was davening mincha. He was davening the afternoon service. Now, please hold tight with me and don't disconnect. But the rabbis wanted to prove that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob founded Shachrit, Mincha, and Mariv, the morning, afternoon, and evening. And They had to find a hook, a verse. And lo and behold, here it is. Going out toward evening. Lifnot Arev. It's toward evening, but it's not evening. What is not evening prior to evening? It is
Afternoon.
And therefore, what would any Jewish man have been doing at that hour? There you go. So that proves that mincha was invented by Isaac.
What chapter and verse on this?
Howard, was that a challenge?
No, I'm lost. Where are you quoting from?
I am on verse 63 in chapter 24.
24.
Yeah. And I would say that the Gemara handles it, and the rabbis accept this as a proof text that Isaac invented mincha. So Rebecca coming into town, not into town, on into the fields, riding on her camel, sees this guy, whether he was meditating or praying, and the rabbis use that as an occasion to dump on Isaac. What do you think they were seeing here? Isaac was looking to replace Mama. Isaac needed a strong woman. What kind of man needs a strong woman?
Weak men.
Please, I am just being theoretical here. And I know that Risa is listening, and I could be in for severe trouble. A weak man, the kind of guy who goes off to stare at the sunset, the kind of a guy who wanders alone in the field to meditate. What is going to make, by the way, what did Isaac say when Daddy was about to cut his throat? Nothing. Can you please go over here? I have a sore throat today, Dad. Would you cut over here? It'll be easy. He didn't say anything. Isaac said nothing. No protest. And then at the very end of his life, Isaac, one of our patriarchs, was about to bless Joseph's kids. Excuse me, he was about to bless his own twins. He had Esau and Jacob. And what happened when he tried to bless Esau? He ended up blessing Jacob. So, with all due respect for whatever it was that Rebecca saw off in the distance, when this, by the way, the rabbis insist that he was very handsome. When this handsome guy was strolling about in the field, probably reciting poetry from Elizabeth Barrett Browning or something like that, doing whatever he would be doing. And Rebecca looked at him and said, "This is right for me. I can make this work. This guy I can control." So this is how the rabbis kind of look at this text. Going out toward evening to meditate in the field, Isaac looked up, saw camels. Rebecca looked up, seeing Isaac reciting poetry or doing mincha, whatever he was doing. She got off the camel. By the way, it doesn't say got off the camel. It says Vatipol Me'al Hagamal. She fell off. It doesn't mean that she actually fell. She just jumped off the damn camel. Whoa, this is good. Jumped off the camel, right? Jumped off the camel, said to the slave, "Who is this man? He is my master." That was it. And all the rest is Jewish history. And all the rest is the wonderful story of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. The last verse is enormously important. By the way, it totally supports everything that I just said. And therefore, I believe this to be divinely revealed, Aviva. It supports everything I said. Okay. And Isaac brought her into the tent of his mother Sarah. He took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. By the way, in marriage counseling, when does love occur? And in this verse, after the marriage. When you really get to know the other person, that's when love has a chance to grow. It comes from here, but there's more. He brought her into the tent of Sarah. Why? Why? First of all, one of the rabbis said, what was Sarah's tent still doing after she died? Why did they keep her tent? Poor Isaac. He needed the strength that Mama provided.
He wanted Mama's approval.
Wanted Mama's approval, Sukasa. Yes. And he brought her. You want to talk about Oedipal or something like that? He brought her into Sarah's tent. And then it was okay. Then it was okay. The two women in his life became one. They became one. And he loved her. Thus did Isaac take comfort after the Mom had already been dead for, we don't know exactly, several years. But when he took his bride into his mother's tent, he was reconciled with the loss of his mother. We're going to stop here. We have to. Rebecca has a hand up, and I always have to end with Rebecca in this passage. Rebecca.
Well, this is what I said yesterday in the Torah study, is that Isaac didn't have a relationship with his father. So it would make sense that he'd be, excuse me, closer to his mother, perhaps.
Okay. I think that he had a relationship with his father. It might not have been the one we would have liked. Folks, thank you. I hope you got as much. This is a passage most people skip. It's a nothing. And guess what? It's not a nothing. There's richness in these texts, and it's exciting. Okay. I have to throw this in just because I'm in a mood. Verse 25:1, page 161. Abraham went on and took a wife named Keturah. There were some rabbis who said, you know who Keturah was? She was Hagar. At the very end, after all was over, Abraham brought Hagar back into his life. Now, we don't know that's true, but it made the rabbi smile. Huh? It was nice. I'm sorry?
It's Barbara's computer's talking.
Oh, okay. Okay. Tamara is going to pray. Okay, say hello to Isaac, and that's where we are. We're going to do Kaddish now, and we start off just bringing to mind the hostages. We will never forget the hostages. We can't. And we pray that the hostages will all be brought home safely. And we hope and pray that this period of death will come to an end and suffering from all sides will be brought to a close. We pray for that. We have to pray for that. We have to. Those who've passed away during the past month: Lisa Cohn, Melvin DeMadoff, Ralph Foxman, Marvin Gerstein, Michael Harris, Virginia Ginny Barrett Hirsch, Gary Winnick. Obviously, all those names not known to us are still dying in the struggle in Gaza. Yortzites that have occurred during the past week: Ted Armel, Khala Salahani Azizian, Herman Bearwall, Jacob Egelman, Rose Bailey, Rebecca Baker, Goldie Benjamin, Joshua Rubin Berman, Beverly Glazoff Berman, Marvin Bernards, Georgette Bloom, Jean Brussel, Norma Francis Bubar, Esther Caden, Solana Rose Che, Francine Chernoff, David Cohn, Irving Coleman, Gary Ann Dryden, Jordan Michael Ehrlich, Rose Ehrlich, Harriet Eport, Bertrand Mark Feinberg, Edith Barron Fireman, Morton Fearman, Seema Frankel, Bertha Friedman, Charles Gerber, Joshua Gerson, David Golden, Jean Gordon, Charlie Grace, Henry Gray, Vicki Lynn Gurin, Jerome Heilbronn, Eric Hershkovitz, Clarice Jacobs, Edward Jacobs, Iraj Kahenisa, Ellen Kaufman, Haskell Kramer, Saul Kupchak, Aaron Kurtz, Shabsa Landa, Harold Leventhal, Betty Lindner, Jane Litwin, Lillian Lurie, Matthew Stephen Madwin, Betsy Marcus, Sonia Esther Margolis, Max Marston, Stanley Miller, Arlene Miller, Eugene Monkorsh, Myron William Morris, Dorothy Osman, Shirley Pasternak, Rona Paymar, Dorothy Schwartz, Petroy, Akiva Plager, Isidore Pugach, Jack Puro, Tamara Rand, Jean Rappaport, Meta Reese, Ruth Rice, Lillian Rain, Belle Reamer, Alan Rawson, Janice Ruda, Sarah Sager, Daisy Schott, Edith Schulhoff, Harriet Francis Schwartz, Jean Shapiro, Linda Scher, Ruth Siegel, William Sarnoff, Paul Spindler, Raymond Sprague, Leonard Sarir, Louis Stark, Mayo Stark, Jack Stillerman, Alfred Strasburger Jr., Julius Tyfield, Stephen Wagmeister, David Westheimer. I apologize for any names that I mispronounced. If you would like to add the names of anyone whom you are remembering, please speak their names aloud now or in your hearts. We mention and think of all those who died. This is Veterans Day weekend, those who died in defense of the United States, those who died in defense of the state of Israel, those who were murdered through acts of cruelty and violence those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. We join together. Yitgadal
V'yitkadosh Rabba
Rabba Bialma
Divra Kirute Yamli Aput
V'chaye Bon V'chaye Depo Ba'agala V'zman Karev V'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rama
Barak
V'varach Le'olam
Olam Lomeo Maya
Yitbarach
V'yishtabah
Yitpa'ar
V'yitramam V'yitnaseh
V'yitadar
V'yitaleh
Yitaleh V'yitalal
Yitalal Shemei Dekudisha
Richu
V'yichu Le'elah Mincha Birata B'shirata
Tush B'chata
Rata V'nechamata Da'aman V'yalma V'imru Amen
Yehei
V'yishlama Rabba
Shemaya
Ayim Aleinu
Hayim Aleinu
V'yalkal Yisrael V'imru Amen
Oseh
Oseh Shalom B'imru
Shalom B'imromav
Uyasha Shalom
Shalom Aleinu
V'yalkal Yisrael V'imru Amen.
Amen. May God, who makes peace in the high places, make peace in our hearts, make peace in our homes, make peace in the household of Israel, make peace among all the families and nations of earth, bring peace to our world that so desperately needs peace. And let us say,
Amen.
Amen.
it is so good to be with you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring. Thank you for wanting to study. Thank you for the love that makes this community real. It actually exists. This is a real community. Thank you for that. Shabbat Shalom. All the very best.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. Be healthy.
Shabbat Shalom.